Corvin Castle, a fairy-tale Gothic Renaissance fortress nestled in the heart of Hunedoara, Transylvania, Romania, stood as a monument to medieval power and chilling legends. Its towering turrets, drawbridge, and dark courtyards whispered tales of Vlad the Impaler's imprisonment and the unspeakable cruelties of its noble residents. For Elias Volkov, a thrill-seeking urban explorer and vlogger renowned for his daring incursions into abandoned, haunted locations, this Halloween was the ultimate challenge. He was leading a small team into the castle's deepest, most restricted sections, the Forgotten Dungeons and the rumored Blood Countess's crypt, convinced that any reported hauntings were merely psychological effects of the castle's oppressive atmosphere, amplified by its gruesome history. His objective? To spend Halloween night documenting every shadow and sound, hoping to capture irrefutable proof of its mundane nature, or, failing that, to create the most terrifying livestream in his career. Elias, whose bravado often masked a profound, almost academic curiosity about the psychological impact of fear, dismissed the endless legends of spectral figures and phantom screams as hyperbolic exaggerations. His team consisted of two loyal but easily spooked followers, Lena and Max, who shared his thirst for adventure but were less adept at maintaining composure in truly terrifying situations. They arrived at Corvin Castle on the evening of October 31st. The Transylvanian air crisp and carrying the earthy scent of ancient stone, damp forest, and a faint metallic tang, like stagnant blood from forgotten battles. The castle itself, a colossal silhouette against the bruised purple and ominous orange twilight sky, seemed to glower with ancient malevolence. A scattering of carved pumpkins, their glowing orange faces casting dancing shadows, adorned the castle's less restricted entrance points, a festive touch by the local tourism board. But their light seemed to pulsate with an unnerving intensity in the deepening gloom. Their designated entry point was a clandestine passage beneath the castle's old chapel, accessible through a crumbling section of the outer wall, a place rarely visited. This led them directly into the labyrinthine network of forgotten dungeons and subterranean passages. Elias meticulously set up his specialized equipment: high-resolution night vision cameras, parabolic microphones, and motion sensors, hoping to capture any subtle environmental anomalies. A single, battery-operated jack-o'-lantern, its orange LED flickering steadily, sat on a nearby stone bench, a practical light source among the sophisticated gadgets and a small, ironic defiance against the castle's grim history. Hours passed. The initial data was frustratingly inconclusive. Microphones picked up nothing but the drip of water and the distant sounds of bats. Infrared cameras registered no unusual heat signatures, and motion sensors remained silent. Elias, his voice calm and analytical, began his video log for his live stream, his confidence growing. As expected, he stated, adjusting his helmet camera, Corvin Castle, despite its notorious reputation, presents no evidence of genuine supernatural activity. The legends of imprisoned spirits, in all likelihood, are fascinating folklore, but ultimately human constructs amplified by the castle's chilling history. But as the clock's ancient chimes echoed midnight, marking the shift to All Hallows Day, a profound and undeniable shift occurred. The temperature in the dungeon plummeted so rapidly that Elias could see his breath. His thermal camera flared with an icy blue. Then his EMF detector, previously dormant, screamed to life, its red lights flashing violently, registering a massive electromagnetic surge directly in front of them. A faint, rhythmic clinking sound, like ancient chains dragging on stone, began to emanate from the deepest shadow of the dungeon. It wasn't loud, but it was insistent, rhythmic, growing in intensity. Elias froze, his bravado utterly shattered by a primal wave of fear. This was not a structural anomaly. This was intelligent. Is anyone here? Elias whispered, his voice tight with a fear he hadn't anticipated, his live stream audience watching in terror. The clinking stopped abruptly. A guttural moan, low and laden with ancient malevolence, filled the dungeon, echoing from all directions, as if coming from the very stone itself. It was the sound of profound hunger and unspeakable cruelty, centuries old. Then from the absolute darkness of the dungeon's far end, a shimmering, translucent figure began to coalesce. It was indistinct at first, like swirling smoke, but slowly, horrifyingly, it began to take the shape of a woman. Her features were gaunt, her lips a cruel painted red, her eyes hollow pits of despair, yet burning with an intense, pulsating orange light. Her body was clad in a tattered, blood-stained medieval gown, and in her translucent hand she clutched a spectral chalice dripping with unseen liquid. Her presence radiated an overwhelming aura of ancient evil, aristocratic cruelty, and predatory hunger. This was not a residual haunting. This was an intelligent entity, a revenant, Countess Elizabeth Báthory, the Blood Countess herself. Or rather, what remained of her monstrous spirit forever bound to Corvin Castle. And she was here. Elias's mind reeled. The impossible was staring him in the face, live for thousands of terrified viewers. This was terrifyingly, impossibly real. The Blood Countess, Elias stammered, clutching his helmet camera. The spectral Countess did not speak. Instead, a torrent of vivid, horrifying images flooded Elias's mind. He saw 16th century Transylvania, a land of fear and superstition. He saw a beautiful, cruel countess, driven by vanity and a monstrous belief in eternal youth, bathing in the blood of virgins. He saw her not as a lone madwoman, but as the central figure of a hidden cult, the Crimson Court, which practiced dark blood rituals to appease an ancient parasitic entity bound to Corvin Castle. The castle was not just her home, it was its prison, its feeding ground. The rituals, particularly potent on Halloween, were designed to capture the life force of the sacrificed, transferring it to the Countess and in turn to the parasitic entity, strengthening its hold on the physical realm. The entity sought to culminate its harvest on Halloween night, to solidify its physical manifestation through a grand, final feast, ushering in an age of eternal darkness and fear. The pumpkins outside, Elias realized, were not just festive. They were unintended beacons, their orange glow mirroring the Countess's malevolent eyes. Drawing her attention to the surface, the images clarified a horrifying truth. Elizabeth Báthory was merely a high priestess, her monstrous cruelty a means to an unimaginable occult end. The parasitic entity, an ancient force of vampiric energy, was the true power behind her legend, bound to the castle and on Halloween. Its hunger was at its apex, demanding not just blood, but a complete forfeiture of spirit, a mind, a soul, to become its permanent conduit. And Elias's daring, life-seeking mind, which had intruded so deeply into its domain, made him the perfect vessel for its eternal feast. The dungeon grew colder, thicker, with unseen presences. Elias felt phantom hands, bony and icy, pulling at his clothes, tearing at his skin. Lena and Max huddled together, whimpering, their live stream comment section exploding with frantic warnings. The EMF detector screamed, its red lights a blinding, ceaseless red. The whispers, a cacophony of ancient chants and guttural demands for blood, filled his mind. Feast, feast, become mine, eternal youth. The spectral Countess glided closer, her hollow, orange eyes fixed on Elias. Her translucent hand reached out, not for his throat, but for his mind, seeking to transfer the unending burden of her monstrous hunger and the entity's parasitic grasp. Join my feast, her silent voice echoed in Elias's thoughts. Become part of my eternal court. Your fear, it is delicious. Elias, caught between terror and a sudden profound understanding, fought against the mental intrusion. He recalled an obscure passage from an old Transylvanian folklore book, dismissed as a meaningless fragment, a symbol of sun's radiance, an ancient Dacian glyph that, if invoked with genuine courage and a pure intention to protect life, could temporarily disrupt the parasitic entity's hold on its host. forcing it to retreat to its dimension. The glyph, a stylized sunburst with intertwined serpents, was believed to be effective only on Samhain, when the veil was thinnest, and if dedicated to an act of genuine self-sacrifice and defiance against overwhelming evil. With a desperate surge of adrenaline, Elias broke free from the mental hold. "No," he gasped, forcing the word out, his voice echoing through the live stream. "I will not be your feast. I will not serve your hunger." He began frantically drawing the sun's radiance glyph on the dusty stone floor with his finger, recalling every detail from the folklore book. Lena, despite her terror, saw his desperate effort and, remembering a similar diagram from a historical text on Dacian rituals, instinctively helped him complete the intricate pattern. Max, though still trembling, focused the portable spotlight on the glyph, amplifying its presence. The phantom hand still tugged, but less with malevolence, more with a desperate, pleading urgency for completion of the ritual. As the glyph was completed, it pulsed with a faint, shimmering golden light, starkly contrasting with the dominant orange. The spectral Countess roared, a sound of ancient fury, her form flickering violently. The orange glow in her eyes wavered, replaced by a momentary flash of frustration, then pure, unadulterated hatred. The Countess lunged, but as she crossed the boundary of the glowing glyph, her form distorted, shimmering violently as if struggling against an invisible barrier. The ancient chants and whispers ceased abruptly. The surrounding shadowy figures, the remnants of the Crimson Court's influence, recoiled, their orange glows dimming to nothing. Elias, seizing the moment, remembered another detail from the folklore. The entity's ultimate weakness was exposure to raw, untamed light, a light that mirrored its consumed victim's innocent life force, not the dim, ritualistic glow it preferred. He looked at his small, LED-lit pumpkin, still flickering on the stone bench. It was a simple, harmless object, but now it felt like a weapon. With a desperate prayer for the victims, Elias grabbed the pumpkin. "This is not your feast, demon," he screamed, his voice ringing with defiance, broadcast live to thousands. "This is the light of their stolen lives, the light of their memory." He hurled the glowing pumpkin towards the Countess. The pumpkin struck the spectral form, not with force, but with a sudden blinding burst of pure, golden light. The Countess convulsed violently, letting out a final, ear-splitting shriek that tore through the dungeon, a sound of ancient pain and absolute defeat. Her terrifying form dissolved into shimmering golden particles that drifted upwards through the ancient stone ceiling, ascending into an unseen ethereal light, finally banished from the physical realm. The dungeon returned to its chilling stillness, but the oppressive malevolence was gone. The EMF detector fell silent, the temperature normalized. The pervasive scent of decay vanished, replaced by a faint, clean smell of fresh, damp stone. Emerging from Corvin Castle at dawn, Elias Volkov was a changed man. His bravado and cynicism were utterly shattered, replaced by a profound conviction in the existence of something far older and more terrifying than human cruelty. His urban exploration had led him to a spiritual confrontation and, unexpectedly, to a victory over an ancient malevolence. He never again sought to simply record. He sought to understand, to respect, and to protect. His live stream, initially a quest for viral fame, became a testament to a genuine encounter with the supernatural, watched by millions. He never returned to purely debunking haunted locations. Instead, working with Lena and Max, and with the support of the local cultural authorities, he used his platform to advocate for the respectful preservation of such sites, recognizing their potent living history. He published Corvin's Embrace, the Countess and the Entity, detailing not just the historical context of Elizabeth Báthory, but his terrifying encounter, the true nature of the parasitic entity, and the ritual that bound it. From that Halloween forward, the grim legends of Corvin Castle began to shift. Fewer aggressive hauntings were reported. Visitors spoke of a palpable sense of peace in the dungeons, a subtle presence, but no longer one of malevolence. The entity was banished. The Countess's spirit finally found its release, and Elias Volkov, the once thrill-seeking vlogger, became an unlikely guardian of Transylvania's spectral history, ensuring that on every Halloween, the chilling tale of Corvin Castle was remembered. Not as a mere historical curiosity, but as a poignant narrative of ancient evil confronted and finally defeated. The jack-o'-lantern outside Corvin Castle became a permanent fixture, always lit, a silent vigil against the shadows.